You're listening to Pardon the Disruption with your host, Tom Young.
Hey, everybody. Hey, welcome to the show. Let's go around the room.
This is Bart Gallo.
Hey, this is TJ Young.
This is Tom Young here. I want to thank our sponsors for the show today. I'm wearing their T-shirt here. It's the Ice House Restaurant in Virginia Beach, and I'm wearing this wonderful long-sleeve T-shirt we got there. And our second sponsor is O'Connor Brewing, who sells El Guapo beer. It's El Guapo Agave IPA, where we're drinking it. It's a delicious beer served in the Ice House in Virginia Beach, which is where I got exposed to it. So anyway, let me take a sip of this delicious beer.
Is the G silent in their beer?
It's like a fancy thing.
That's a good beer. Now, TJ, you're also drinking El Guapo. Is it good? You like it?
I think it's Guapo. I mean, if they're a sponsor, we should probably.
No, I think it's El Guapo.
Why? I don't think a G is ever silent in Spanish.
El Guapo means the handsome one, and it's pronounced Guapo. Unless you've heard it said that way, like Washington Post.
No, I
bought
heard
it
that
secretly.
No, in the Three Amigos, I think it was El Guapo.
Maybe I don't know. In Spanish,
can you look it up how you pronounce it? Let's go to Google Translate because they are sponsoring the show.
Guapo is like handsome.
The handsome El Guapo, the handsome one.
I don't know why I said El Guapo. I ordered El Guapo when I was down in Virginia Beach all weekend. I kept saying El Guapo. They kept looking at me funny. Maybe that's it. So anyway, I was corrected. This is either El Guapo beer or El Guapo beer. Either way, it's delicious. And if you're in Virginia Beach area where I think O'Connor Brewing is, definitely go check out our show sponsor, the Ice House. I think Thursday's pork chop night, and get some of that delicious beer.
How much money are we getting from their sponsorship?
I'm hoping that the next time we go, we get a free round of El Guapo beers.
I think that might be what it is.
So anyway, hey, today we're going to talk about an interesting topic, which is artificial meats. Yeah. So if you haven't seen Beyond Meat, they went public. When did they go public? It had to be recent. May.
A couple months ago, yeah.
They're up 550%, right?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Are they really? It was like 30-something, and they're up to 100 and...
Well, they're at 172 right now. Their market cap is $10 billion, $10.7 billion.
I think they're up 550%, though, from IPO.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's up a lot. Anyway, you're starting to see Beyond Meat in the grocery stores now. What Beyond Meat is basically they're selling hamburger patties that are completely plant-based.
Right.
So veggie burgers and things like that have been around for a while, but they taste like veggie burgers. This is really meant to taste like a regular burger. Now, we had done a field trip with Kieran and Rohan. Remember, when did we do that? About 2 years ago? We went to that one place that sold the Impossible Burger.
Probably close to that by now, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was fall 2 years ago. So
the Impossible Burger is the same kind of technology here as Beyond Meat. Is it the same company?
I think that's Impossible Meats.
Impossible Foods.
Impossible Foods,
That's different than Beyond Meat then.
Yeah, so Impossible Foods was, I think, first. They're the ones behind the Impossible Burger, but they use that methodology and license it for like imitation pork and other stuff. I remember I had a burrito that had the Impossible meat in it down in Florida recently. Yeah. It was awesome. I never really liked veggie burgers, but it's definitely next level this year. It's I don't know. It was hard to tell, if not even better, because they have to rely on spices.
Well, look, I mean, if you can replace animal meats with veg and you can't tell the difference, then people should obviously, I think it's probably healthier to eat a veggie-based burger than it is eat especially if it has the right amount of protein in it, because that's one of the reasons why you eat meat is to get a nice concentration of protein.
And we're talking about this, of how it relates to disruption. A.T. Kearny just released a report. The article on their site is titled, "How Will Cultured Meat and Meat Alternatives Disrupt the Agricultural and Food Industry?" And their main claim is that by 2040, they say that 60% of all meat that's, I think, either produced and or consumed will be grown in vats. So actual meat that they'll like stimulate growth for cells, but without killing the animal. Mm-hmm. Either be grown in vats or they will be plant-based products, kind of like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods. 60% of all meat globally by 2040. It's a pretty substantial claim in terms of.
And didn't you also say that they said if they're wrong, it's only because it's even more significant of a change?
Yeah. So this, the Guardian covered this article. It's one of their headlines, and at the end, they quote the report, and they pretty much say like, if we're wrong, if anything, it's an underestimation of the market share that fake meat will have.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't studied the data too deeply, but it doesn't strike me as like surprising.
No, I mean, there's so many factors for why it's more attractive. What was the quote before in terms of the amount of water that's needed?
Oh yeah, the water consumed is 1,800 gallons for a pound of ground beef, 660 I think for a pound of chicken.
It's the whole supply chain, like watering the plants and then what they eat and then feeding the cows. All the water involved in that process.
Farmers use this thing called the feed meat ratio. It's a conversion ratio to understand the economics of whether you're going to produce something or not. So a cattle farmer will look at the price of grains and feed to understand what their break even is in terms of how they're going to sell live cattle. So you sell live cattle by the live pound, but you can't sell 100% of a cow for meat products, right? There's a yield, say a 1,200 pound cow is going to sell a fraction of that in terms of its finished meat, and then different cuts of meat have different price points. So if you look at the price of feed, and you can look at animal products, let's use chicken, pigs, and beef, right, as the three layers. What's interesting is they use this thing called feed conversion ratios, and a chicken has an efficiency of about 2.5 to 1. So 2.5 pounds of feed gets a pound of chicken. Pork, on the other hand, it's 5 to 1, and beef is anywhere from 10 to 25, depending on how you define it, right? Because
it's a larger animal, and a lot of it you can't really use, or it's not as there's not less demand for it.
Yeah, so they actually so there's been a lot of in the agricultural industry, there's a lot of study to this. So they actually looked at they converted the feed to units of energy or calories, etc.
Right.
And poultry has an 11% efficiency. That you put in 100, you get out 11%,
and that's high compared to the others.
Yeah, these are caloric feedbacks. Pigs are 10%, and cows, beef are 1%.
The quote from the Guardian article, they said that in terms of caloric inefficiency, they said that only 15% of all the plant calories that are consumed by, I think cows were the example, are actually converted to calories in the meat. It's just hugely inefficient.
That's crazy.
Think about all the land that's devoted to just growing fields of crops just to feed the livestock.
Going to be consumed,
They
right?
said
Just a part of the supply chain.
Half of the crops around the world are fed to livestock. Livestock purely there to be eventually slaughtered and then in the frozen food aisle.
That's nuts.
Now, this is a very glaring issue, right?
You guys I had the Impossible Burger a couple years ago, and it was okay. It wasn't as good as Shake Shack, which might have the best burgers on the planet.
We're also sponsored by Shake Shack.
Our next show is sponsored by Shake Shack, home of the bacon cheeseburger. No, I think that's so good. It's off the charts good, but it's not that. It's good. I mean, it's decent, but I think that's what's the Beyond Meats? It's the new one.
Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are the big ones.
So I saw Beyond Meat in the store. It's not cheap. I mean,
how much was it?
I don't remember it. I just remember it not being cheap.
It's more expensive than the real meat equivalent, I think. But I think their initial consumer base is willing to spend it because of the benefits they perceive out of it.
I imagine that the conventional meat producers are going to be building their own kind of channel of distribution because they see this as especially with more legitimate studies like this coming out, they see it as a existential threat.
Yeah, I imagine the traditional meat producers are also going to try to muddy the waters in terms of, I mean, let's be honest about whether or not this stuff is actually better for you and better for the environment.
This feels like a big oil versus climatologist thing. Like, it's not real.
Big agriculture.
Keep burning gasoline.
Yeah.
And support ExxonMobil. We're also sponsored by ExxonMobil.
Yeah, Hillshire Farms, right?
Hey, Jordan, could I trouble you while we're doing this? Since El Guapo is sponsoring the show. If we could go give me another one and just pop it off. I have a glass here. It'd be great. TJ, you're good? Yeah,
I'll take a burger if you can just. Okay.
Yeah. We're going to try to get them to sponsor the next show. But this El Guapo goes down like butter. Anyway.
Did you just invent their slogan on the fly?
I don't know. I didn't. I just realized it's guapo, not wapo. I was
mind blown.
Anyway, so I'm very interested in this because as you think through the business implications of this, the supply chain for grains, the whole agribusiness side of livestock farming relative to the food supply, you get into this issue of being able to do a lot more things locally, right?
Right. So it's access to really meat. I mean, like think about developing countries and the supply chain is a lot of the waste that's gone into that calculation is not just from wasting water and the caloric inefficiency. It's transporting all this stuff around the world. I mean, they're only in a few locations. If you can grow it and make it economically viable to have labs that can grow it in all these regions, that will drive down costs significantly.
Yeah.
And mostly waste.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's really much debate on whether or not it's better for the environment. I think that's settled. I think the debates are just around people's lifestyles and health choices and whether or not it's really healthy, and are there misconceptions around people who think they're eating vegetables when they eat an Impossible Burger because vegetables are involved in producing one. But I think it's already generally accepted that adopting this on a large scale is better for the environment.
I think it's just a slam dunk.
Yeah,
like it's not even close.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even up for debate. Like it's just a waterfall on one side against a man standing there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certainly the radical people like PETA will say there's a moral issue as well, right? We're eating animals, and regardless of whether
taking jobs away from cows.
No, but even if you don't agree with that.
Isn't PETA against? So one other thing that's interesting from the report, they say 60% total by 2040. They break that up further between two categories. It's kind of 50-50. Half from grown in a vat, like actual meat grown in the vat, and then half from these vegan produced ones. So what I think I heard their statement was they're against the meat that's like organic meat but grown in a vat, never slaughtered,
like cultured
meat, because it still resembles the animal. They equate it to like, oh, would you just eat human meat if we grew it in a vial? I mean, I'm having a human burger.
Yeah,
is that philosophically fine?
That's. I know that's just an example they might have given, but there's like clear psychological downsides to doing that if it is exactly like human meat.
Right. I don't agree with them. It's just, I think they're extremists.
Well, that's nuts. So, that's crazy. So I don't want to hear from PETA. But
we're not sponsored by PETA.
We're not sponsored by PETA.
I think we're good. The internet pretty much wrote PETA off after they attacked Steve Irwin on his birthday recently. So
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it was one of those internet rising up sort of events where people were honoring Steve Irwin, and PETA made some Twitter statements saying that Steve Irwin, bothered animals in their natural habitat and was kind of criticizing his career. And you can imagine the onslaught for a beloved guy like that.
He had that barb coming.
It was received in that way.
But so there is a moral issue. I think people, if they saw their animals that they're eating being killed, like if you had to go to a slaughterhouse and watch pigs get slaughtered or cows get slaughtered,
it's illegal to take those videos.
Yeah. For good reason.
It's federally illegal.
The lobbyists they have against the FDA, I mean, like they can get away with so many laws and regulations that are just completely draconian. They'll ruin your life and your family's lives.
Right, Bart, can you go on the dark web and pull up a slaughterhouse video? I don't want to.
You don't have to go to the slaughterhouses.
There's videos out there, but it's illegal to take them for the person who's uploading them.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, we can find them. I don't think we should put them in the show notes.
Don't show it.
Yeah,
please don't show it. I don't want to see it.
I mean, I didn't eat a hamburger for at least 12 hours when I watched one of these.
Right.
But if you're listening, you can like Cowspiracy and Food Inc. like on Netflix.
Yeah.
That gives you enough of a view.
It has a name.
If you're game enough to watch.
Not to hyper focus on this, but it's called Agricultural Gag Laws.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't know it was so formal.
Laws that are focused on anti-whistleblower laws that apply within the agricultural industry.
All right, so let's try to go.
That's a whole rabbit hole, but
so We can go, let's try to get back in the center lane here.
That's the next podcast, though. We need to talk about ag gag.
Let's get in the center lane here, where most people. I think if a normal person were to watch an animal being slaughtered, they're going to think twice about the whole thing. But the way we package meats in supermarkets today, there's a dissociative element to the animal that's being killed and what you're seeing when you're buying. So you look at a bratwurst, which I love to have a bratwurst. You don't see it in its component where it came from and how it got there. And but it tastes damn good. I mean, that's why people eat it, and it's great. But if you could come up with alternatives that satisfy the omnivore elements of our DNA, who we are, we're not. I don't think we are vegetarians. We're omnivores.
Debate.
Well, it's not a debate. I mean, come on. We're omnivores. So
Comment section.
Some people
just blew
choose
up.
not to eat meat. That's fine. It's a choice that they make. But I wouldn't say that's necessarily healthy. I think if all you eat is Doritos and cheeseburgers, you're probably not going to be healthy either. I would say probably the caveman diet is probably the most healthy diet you could have.
Right.
No processed foods, and you eat basically what the caveman had access to.
Fruits, veggies, nuts, fish.
Foods without ingredients.
It's also about the timing, right?
Yeah.
Space between meals.
Yeah, but food without ingredients is probably your healthiest.
Like no processed foods.
Whole foods.
And that includes meats, because meat. If you buy meat at ShopRite, it's processed.
Mm-hmm.
It's pumped full of antibiotics because foodborne illness is such an issue at scale for these big agro companies, and they have to just make sure that they're all healthy by pumping them full of antibiotics. It's just you're eating these bloat. Have you ever had like a truly organic, like a steak where the farmer had to go slaughter the cow manually and it's farm to table?
Yeah.
Those steaks are tiny, and
Grass-fed.
they're lean, grass fed, and they taste good, but it's not like the tasty, giant, fatty steaks you get at like Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
not the same.
So TJ, we went to this place. I took you there. I think when you first turned 21, we went to Vegas, right? And we went to Craft Steak at MGM in Vegas, and we got the Wagyu, which it's very similar to Kobe steak, and we got the strip steak cut in a pan, and it is so good. It's almost worth the flight to Vegas to get it, right? And I tried to get it at other places, and I got it once in New York, and it was okay, but nothing as good as the one we got in Vegas. In order to get that meat to be like that, they have to keep the cows in a certain position. They have to feed them beer and corn, and the cows get daily massages. So it's not. There's nothing normal about it. It's like really freaky. And when you look at the meat when it's raw, it's almost white. There's so much fat in it. So think about the way a lean muscle looks. It has a red tint to it, right? And it's not a lot of fat. So a filet mignon doesn't have a lot of fat to it.
It's like a red hockey puck when you look at it.
It's a
raw.
red hockey puck. And if you contrast that with the Wagyu or the Kobe, it looks almost white because there's so much fat interspersed with the fibers, and that's what makes it good. So when you cook it, the fat renders down and soaks the remaining fibers in the fat, and it's very tender as a result because there's there's less tissue in holding it together. So it sounds disgusting with everything I'm saying, but if you try,
I disagree.
If you tried, TJ, how good was that?
Great.
The best. I mean, it's almost
I've never had it.
It's almost so good that you shouldn't do it.
Like it feels gluttonous.
No, I don't mean it that way.
My girlfriend brought me to like a nice steakhouse in New York for my birthday, and it was some dish you had to spend like over $200, and I got this plate. It was barely any food. It was 6 slices, 2 of each kind of meat. Like one was like an Australian Wagyu, one was a Texan Wagyu, and one was true Kobe Japanese. And like they were 2 bites each, and they were tiny bites, and the whole thing was like $200.
Yeah,
ridiculous. But the Kobe beef, it didn't even taste like beef. It tasted just
heaven.
I don't know, like the umami.
Yeah,
just like
it's like you
the
take one
savory
bite
perfection.
And the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy plays through your head.
I saw Jesus, and he was just nodding at me. He's like, "You did the right thing."
So did you cook it yourself?
No, this is at a steakhouse.
No, but so there was a
With
Kobe.
the stones, you mean?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, like
they came
Korean
out.
barbecue style.
So there was a Kobe place that closed in New York, but they gave you the Kobe or the Wagyu So the Kobe's like an A5. They have all these different ratings of it, how much fat is in it. But they give it to you with chopsticks, and you put it on hot stone, and you cook it to however you like. But a lot of people like to eat it almost not raw, but very rare. I like it medium. That's just the way I like it. But the one in Vegas is so good. But these meats are not normal. They're not. As TJ was mentioning before, the classic farmer grass-fed beef is not. I don't know what's happening here.
Not a professional.
It's not me. I had this on because we're expecting a call from a client. A new sponsor for our next
you're
show.
Inspector Gadget. You have like 7 things that go off if you get a phone call.
That's Connor Brewing calling. Like, hi.
My iPad.
Hi, we're not sponsoring your show anymore.
My phone went off and my watch. Apple Watch went off at the same time. But these foods that are out there that are, like this Kobe beef is just not, it's not normal, because if you eat the normal meats, it's just very different. I mean, like the meats that were out there, say 30, 40 years ago, is not what you're getting today. You're getting a lot of engineered stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So I like to go to that place. Where'd you go to get that?
That was
Del Frisco's?
Del Frisco's Double Eagle Steakhouse.
Second sponsor.
Oh, it's 6th Avenue.
It's so if you've ever been to Radio City Music Hall, across the street is like a full vaulted double 2-story giant room, and it's floor to ceiling windows you can see inside, and it's like a huge steakhouse, very expensive, but went there across from Radio City, and it was just awesome.
Part you have it up
Really
there on
good.
the screen. Can you pull up the menu?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. It's in New York.
So this is a chain. It's in a lot of places, and is this what you got here, Tej?
Wow, the caviar is as a service.
Caviar as a service?
Why own it? Here it is, seared rare.
No, that's carpaccio.
Oh, you're still in the appetizer section.
I was taking my time.
My mouth's watering.
All right.
Wow.
We might have to do a road trip here.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dry aged. I think it's after dry aged.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Colorado prime lamb.
There you go. So it's the 3
The
is the
tasting.
3, and it's the
205.
tasting. 205 for barely.
So you got Japanese A5, Australian, and then Rosewood. I've had all of that.
I guess it's a decent amount. It's just 3 ounces each.
9 ounces.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's so rich, you don't want to do it. And I was in Vegas at this place, and we had one of my friends who's recently deceased a couple years ago. He was a good friend of mine. He was a big gambler, and we were all out for the Super Bowl one year in Vegas. And when I say he was a big gambler, he gambled a lot, and he won a lot of money and he lost a lot of money. But we were out there, and the MGM, who owns a Bellagio, we were staying there, comped everybody for the rooms and gave him a $10,000 meal credit for 2 dinners.
10,000?
$10,000.
I would have trouble spending that much.
Well, it's a lot of money. I mean, most people think I'm crazy when I'm literally, it was 10,000. So
but if you asked me, all right, $10,000, you have 2 meals, and you
no, there was 12.
Spend it, and you have to finish the food.
There was 12 people.
Oh, 12 people. Okay.
So 12 people.
Oh, with one person? Yeah, I think so.
No, it's 12.
I'll go to Double Eagle.
So So I sat next to him. We're hanging out, and 12 people are having dinner. Harvey was there, and anyway, so we're hanging out, and the bill comes in for the first night, and I'm sitting next to him, and he's pissed, right? Because the bill comes in, it's $6,800 for 12 people.
It's pretty awesome.
And so, but I'm telling you what I got. I wasn't over the top like some of the other guys were. I think my portion of the bill would have been like $550. I got a Kobe steak.
Well, that's what it would. That's everyone would be $550 to $600.
I guess I was. All right, whatever. I got a stone crab appetizer and a crab cake with this, and then whatever. I just got a bunch of stuff. People were getting lobster tails on top of.
This is turning into.
I'm appreciating the comedy of ending a show that was about fake meat with like a $6,000 table of dead animals.
It's turning into the most privileged meat eater discussion in the world.
By the way, there's this place in Vegas.
I say Kobe is better than the Australian Wagyu.
But That $500 or whatever it was for my piece of it, I looked at that. If you go to a dinner, like you go to a steakhouse in New York or just go anywhere locally, you're going to spend $100 a head. Is that fair?
You can tell me. I don't know.
I don't know. You guys go to.
I don't dine at your level with
I
the
don't really
reptilians.
go to restaurants in the city very often, but if you do, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to spend that much.
If I go to a local steakhouse here, it's $100 a head.
You tell me. I don't
Well,
know.
wait a second.
I interact with the dive bar crowd. You know, we're men. Bart and I are men of the people.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are such full of
I cook
shit.
omelets.
Taking private
4
flights
meals
to
a day.
Wagyu
That's
beef
such
over here.
That's such bullshit. You just went and got a $200
That was one
appetizer.
time.
I own
All
stock in Impossible Meat. Stop eating meat.
All right.
We're sponsored by Beyond Meat.
All right. So anyway, it's $100 a head.
Did I just break the law?
In the middle of the
I think we
country,
broke a lot of laws.
It's $60, but in New York, it's at least $100. So I was just saying, like it was so good having what we had that one time, and I would almost be like, I would rather go to McDonald's 10 times to fund the one time there.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point, actually.
There is something to say about these things that are at the very pinnacle. Just to try it now.
Well, this won't go away. It says 60%. I mean, that's not going to affect this high-end Kobe stuff.
You're going to see
like,
a concentration of truly crazy meal experiences that concentrate at the top when we do transition to a more, engineered meat kind of diet. And
Did you guys see that movie with Marlon Brando and Sarah Jessica Parker's husband? Who's that guy? Ferris Bueller. I don't know his name. Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick and
they were married.
Marlon Brando were in this movie called
The Internship?
The Freshman,
Oh, The Freshman. Yeah.
where they ate endangered animals.
Marlon Brando's in character in that, right? He's like the
Well,
Don.
he plays himself.
Yeah.
No,
never seen that.
in this show, they had an eating club where they would bring out an endangered animal, like the last Komodo dragon, and they'd wheel it out, and it was alive, and the chef would be there with his knives, and everyone would pay like $5,000 a plate, and then they would go back and butcher the Komodo dragon and feed it to everybody. But what would happen is they'd steal the Komodo dragon and wheel it back there and then serve everybody ostrich, and no one knew the difference. And
So they
it was a
saved them all.
scam.
Yeah.
But it looked like they were serving like the last spotted leopard, and they ran these eating clubs. It was great.
I feel like that must exist somewhere in a smoke-filled room full of billionaires. That has to happen. Well, Kim Jong-un flies in like crazy rare meat all the time.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I heard a story about a helicopter dropped in a specific kind of rare kind of meat when he was on a train in North Korea. He wanted it so bad while the train was moving, they airdropped it in, this specific kind of meat. He's one of the last few true dictators who's making crazy just demands. Like, oh, you two fight in the Coliseum. Like that. There's no requests like that anymore from the Caesar. In North Korea, he's still doing that. Not to justify it, but it's just crazy requests.
he has a $30 million a year liquor importing.
Yeah, we've devolved far from, our sponsor, O'Connor Brewery, who sells El Guapo Agave IPA, is not going to be happy with this discussion, I think.
They're not
but
pro
I did
agro.
drink 2 of these during the show. Now, one of the things about this El Guapo IPA is that it has 7.2% alcohol, which is more than Budweiser. So the last time I had it when I was with my parents down in Virginia Beach, we went to some place that was selling it on draft. And we went to happy hour down by the beach. And my dad was getting Bud Light. And I had this, and I ordered, and according to him, I ordered 5 of them. And 5 pints of this in about 90 minutes is enough to...
Is it a strong beer?
Well, it's 7.5% alcohol.
Yeah,
That's
fine.
pretty strong,
I think the line they paid you to say was 7. It is more than Budweiser to say that.
It's more than Budweiser.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's served at refreshingly at the Ice House in Virginia Beach, and Thursday night is pork chop night.
Nice.
So anyway,
To put a cap on this, you said it's questionable for the health. I think it's still new, so they don't really know yet. But
Yeah.
I'll speak for myself. If I eat red meat compared to even like poultry or just not eat meat, I get weighed down for the next 36 hours. Like it just wreaks. It tastes so good, but it wreaks havoc. I feel like I'm killing my heart, and I weigh 50% more.
Yeah.
Carrying my weight
I know what
around?
you mean?
Do you-
There's
you
a
agree?
weight to it. There's a
Especially red meat.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you? I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I'm fat, so I don't really know.
I mentioned this earlier. I compared like
Maybe from
eating
the
a
red meat.
cheesesteak to eating an Impossible cheesesteak.
Yeah, right.
It's the
different.
same enjoyment in the moment and a very different, just, process of weighing you down after. That's
Exactly.
all. Yeah.
I would say that everybody should try to cut something out of their diet 100% for a while and see what happens.
Things that walk on four legs.
Not everything, but some things.
No, just pick certain things. So I did
Like all vegetables.
well. No, I took out all vegetables for 55 years, and it's been pretty good. So no, but I cut out gluten for a while.
That's a good one.
And it's hard to cut out gluten because it's not. I also cut out carbs for a while. People have done the Atkins diet.
Yeah.
And your body responds in certain ways. Like if you cut out carbs, you'll drop 10 pounds in a week, but then you get into
Your brain processes feel cloudy.
yeah,
that
you
kind of thing.
you don't feel balanced, right?
The best criticism I heard of those diets that work, they're very effective and they're proven to work, is the adoption rates and the abandonment rates. It's a human nature issue. They're great diets, but how strong is your willpower?
If you said you're going on a diet, you've already failed because you've clarified that it's temporary.
Yeah,
you
put
need
it
to
on
make a lifestyle change.
Well, you have to put it on Facebook as your status, or else no one will know.
Yeah.
yeah. I think you're going to have these foods that are processed are not processed for originally the processed food was processed for shelf life and longevity to make money, right? The more you can buy rolls, hamburger rolls that last 3 weeks on your shelf.
That's not a good sign.
Whereas breads were usually good for a day and a half. So how do they last 3 weeks?
You don't want to know the answer.
But it tastes damn good.
They last 3 weeks because you can just eat them through the bag.
So you're going to start to see. So now they're being engineered for addiction.
Yeah, it's true.
Is it? Do you disagree with that?
That's been happening for a while. Just enriched high fructose corn syrup and everything.
Isn't it literally Lay's catchphrase?
I don't.
You can't have just one.
No, it was.
Oh wow!
It is
that
sure.
really the
I think so.
Yeah.
For Lay's
Slogan?
potato chips. Yeah.
Chris Rock.
They explain it like, no, you literally can't have one. We proved it.
That sounds like something that was quietly changed in 2011. Bet you can't eat just one.
Chris Rock did a bit about.
Update, I know you can't eat one. We're not sponsored by Frito-Lay.
But Chris Rock,
Or Pepsi, I should say.
He did a show. He did one on Krispy Kreme donuts, and he said, "Hey, I want to let you know that." He said something like, "that it's covered in crack cocaine," and he was like, "I knew it," right?
I remember that. Yeah.
There's a whole issue around this addiction level.
We need more Chris Rock whistleblowers out there.
But I think if we just go back to this whole thing we talk about engineered meats, is to stop eating foods with ingredients, eat natural foods. It's interesting to see how vegetable-based processed foods that replace meat, it'll be interesting to see if they end up taking off as much as they can. Beyond Meats is at 10.7 billion market cap. If you bought in early, congratulations, you've made some money. But I think more importantly, if you get a chance to see it in the grocery store, buy it and check it out and see if you like it. It'd be interesting if it's less expensive and tastes good and replace it. I think it's going to be extremely interesting to the impact on the farmer, the agricultural business, the supply chains, and I think ultimately it'd be a good thing for the world economy as it make it easier for us to use the foods that we are growing for actual food.
Right.
So there's still like 10 to somewhere between 10 and 20% of the corn that's grown is used for fuel, ethanol. So, that's probably not a good thing. We don't want people starving in this world. In our country, nobody starves. Everybody's fat. But, clearly we have issues of arable land, water. Those resources are going to get tapped in the next 20 to 30 years as the population grows to a certain extent. We could have climate issues. A lot of people talk about the changing climate, how it's going to affect agriculture. All these things.
Agriculture is affecting the climate.
Could be. One, chicken and egg. Who knows?
Or then the what you said at the beginning is, I think we should finish with that. How much more expensive was the Beyond Meat compared to like a burger?
I don't know. Bart, can you look up the price of Beyond Meat patties?
That's when this will be a catalyst. When it gets close to the same price, you're going to see a much bigger wave of people just like, I'll try it, and then they'll like it, and then it'll really expand. And now it's kind of like it's a high value, kind of an elitist play. I care about the environment, but I also have money and I'm comfortable. I mean, like the people who are working paycheck to paycheck don't have the ability to go buy Beyond Meat all the time and just adopt these fads. They're buying fast food because it's cheap. So once it's economical, it'll really change.
It's more than double. $12 a pound. You can get ground beef for $3.50.
Yeah, but I think you're comparing it to the lowest ground beef, right? If you buy ground beef at Whole Foods, it's not going to be $3.50.
But if we're talking about like middle lower class, like majority of this nation or even other nations to a larger extent, when that 12 becomes like a 7, a 6. And it'll be huge. So I haven't read the full report in terms of their prediction for how quickly that will lower overall. But when that does, it's going to be gigantic.
Yeah,
I
don't disagree. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it in the next 10 years. And no, I'm serious. I'll try it soon.
Yeah,
and I am very finicky about that. But if it's even on par, I would switch. I don't think I'd switch for double the price. Because I don't think meat is as bad as people say it is. But I do accept the fact that in the aggregate, meat production, when you look at hog farms and cattle farms, stuff like that, it's not good. So anyway, good episode. I want to thank again our sponsors for this show, Ice House Restaurant in Virginia Beach, who serves O'Connor's beer, El Guapo Agave IPA on tap. I finished 2 during this show. It's very good. And if you get to Virginia Beach, please stop in on Thursday night for pork chop night and call ahead and get a reservation. So tell them that Rum Jog sent you and get 20% off your bill.
I like that we all of a sudden have 8 sponsors and are also getting sued by Frito-Lay. I just got an email.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks very much. See ya. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Hey, thanks for listening to Pardon the Disruption. We'd like you to subscribe to our podcast if you like it. You can find us on most of the platforms where you get your podcast from, whether that be iTunes or YouTube or whatever you're on. We also want some feedback. Which shows do you want us to cover? What do you like? What do you not like? So that we can do this. We're doing this for you. We're not doing this for anything else. So please subscribe and give us some feedback. Thank you very much.